Hello everybody, good afternoon and welcome to the United Stand. This is your press conference reaction for Erik ten Hag's press conference for the Chelsea game, but of course his first reaction to the Cristiano Ronaldo drama. And there's lots of things that have been said, and I just want to say from the outset, I think it's a fantastic interview, press conference from our manager again, and yeah, lots to get into. I just want to apologise for being a little bit late. I'm just trying to calm down. I went for my haircut. I got out my haircut a bit late. We were talking about other things. And basically, I had to run back. Well, I haven't run since 2017. God, my body's just gone into meltdown. I'm like, I finished my run 20 minutes ago. I've been in the shower, a cold shower, and I'm still all over the place. I might pass out. So anyway, we're ready to go. It's a very big press conference, this. So fasten your seatbelts and let's get ready to go. We are ready to go. We've got Erik ten Hag's reaction. I suppose first things first, I quite like starting with this story. Let me see if I can get the quote from Erik, actually, because... yeah, here we go. This is it. I think this is the most important thing he said, and the most important thing to lock in on is, I know there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of frustration, people want to do things that can't be done right now, it's the impatience of society, but I think this is the most telling statement that Erik ten Hag came out with, and effectively what he said is that we miss Ronaldo tomorrow. It's a miss for the squad, but it's important for the attitude and mentality of the group, and now we have to focus on Chelsea, and that's basically what's most important. We do miss Ronaldo tomorrow because we've only got Marcus Rashford. Anthony Martial is not fit. Erik ten Hag revealed that Martial is not fit. So it's another 3 games without Anthony Martial. This time last week, Erik said we're hopeful that he'll be available for the Newcastle game. He's missed 3 more games. This is the problem. Forget the emotion, forget the action. Just focus on the squad. We've got Marcus Rashford, who many of us don't really think is a striker. And that's it. Martial's not fit again. Martial has now missed 95% of our season. 95% of our season Martial has missed. And we've played, what, 15 games? I mean, whatever you think about the Ronaldo situation, whether we should have bought Gakpo, whether Charlie McNeil should be given game time, Martial's probably our #1 striker and he's missed 95% of the season and we're in mid-October. That is a massive issue. You can discuss it now, you can discuss it tomorrow, but it's a big issue. Our #1 striker is injured all the fucking time. And that's a massive problem for Ten Hag. Ronaldo is quite rightly suspended. We've already discussed that. But we go into a game tomorrow against Chelsea with our two first choice strikers, let's be honest, not available for a big game away to Chelsea. These are problems that Erik ten Hag would not have expected when he took the job in the summer. He would have expected and foreseen many problems, but I don't think he would have expected this, to have his 2 best strikers unavailable for so many games for different reasons. So I think Ten Hag's spot on. We do miss Ronaldo tomorrow because ultimately we're trying to win a game of football. And if you take the personality away from the players and you focus on the squad depth, we're really short up front tomorrow. There is no doubt about that. And I'm starting to block my nose up. This is a reaction to the run. Clear it. There we go. So it's going to be a long season, says Bolver, and I think it makes it a difficult season. But no Martial tomorrow, no Ronaldo tomorrow. So basically it's Rashford as our only viable option. But maybe we'll come back to that. Let's talk about the actual... I don't know really where... I want to chuck some real quotes in here. So look, Ten Hag was asked about the Ronaldo situation. He said quite a lot. He said, I'm the manager. I'm responsible for the culture. I have to set the standards and the values. Yes, yes, yes. After Rayo Vallecano, when players left at half-time, I said leaving early was unacceptable. The second time, there has to be consequences. Football is a team sport. You have to set standards. And I think that this was mentioned by Simon Stone, and it's very correct. Ronaldo left early in the pre-season game against Vallecano. He wasn't the only player, and Ten Hag was quick to reiterate that again today, but he was one of the players that was warned for leaving early. He's left early in very, very dramatic ways on Thursday night. Warning, consequences. Erik ten Hag is right. He's got to set the standard. He's got to set the culture. And there has to be consequences. And if he didn't give consequences for what Ronaldo did on Thursday night, he undermines his leadership. You can't warn players and then when they do it again go, that's your final warning. There has to be consequences. And those consequences effectively weaken us. I've not heard anybody say this, probably because everybody assumes it. But by Ten Hag taking a hard line on Ronaldo, which he has to do, 100%. Any leader would back that up. Any person would back that up. He's got to suspend him. Apparently he's had 2 weeks wages fine as well. 100% the correct thing to do. By doing that, he actually weakens his own chances of winning tomorrow. He does. You know, Martial's not there. Ronaldo's not there. If Rashford has a crap game or gets injured, we maybe don't win that game. So Ten Hag has got to do something tomorrow that makes our squad weaker for the greater good, for his own reputation. And that's always a bad thing as a manager. It's always a bad thing when you take a very important player out of your squad to make a stand. Even though it's going to weaken you in the short term, in the long term, you hope it's going to make you stronger. So he's made the right decision there. I think it's now time we fans stop considering Martial as a future striking option. The injuries will persist, says Karash. I think that's a separate conversation, which I agree with you. I really like Martial, but there's three major concerns for me. One, he has said that he wants to leave in the past and will only stay if he's the first choice striker. So he's got to be the first choice striker to stay. Two, his form on the pitch has been sporadic at best over the last 2 years. And three, most important of all, his injury record over the last 18 months is up with Cavani. And that's it. That's all I need to say. Martial's injury record is as varied as my book collection. You know, I've got Gary Barlow's autobiography. I've also got Winston Churchill's. I've got books about Brazil's winning football team. I've got books on the art of porn. You know, I read a wide variety of things. And, you know, I think that Anthony Martial's injury record is very, 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 very... It's got levels. It's got levels. And it's a problem. I like many of you, just want Anthony Martial to be fit. Unfortunately, he's about as fit as me doing that run in 2019. A manager doesn't protect his player in public and throws him to the wolves. It's only Ronaldo. Eric Ten Hag does this to make an example. Humiliates him in public. Why Fergie wouldn't do that, says Majek. But you know what, mate? I'm glad that you said that, because it sort of leads us nice onto the next thing that Eric Ten Hag said, because I really do think that there was some protection for Ronaldo, because he basically also said that this, and let me get it, he was asked about the conversation that he had with Ronaldo, and the question was, you know, Ten Hag said, well, what the talk, if you're asking about the talk, it's between Ronaldo and me. The statement is also clear. I think he remains an important player in the squad. So, you know, to develop that, he was asked what happens going forward. And he said, well, there needs to be some reflection for Ronaldo. There needs to be reflection for us. There was a warning. There are now consequences. And obviously, I have to take control of this team. But I don't think that... there was nothing in that press conference from Ten Hag that said Ronaldo will never play for the club again. There was nothing in that press conference from Ten Hag that said Ronaldo is scum, unprofessional, or anything like that. I think Ten Hag's conduct in that interview was absolutely spot on. He basically said that there's a standard I set. That standard's not been met. There are consequences to that. We will miss Ronaldo tomorrow. He's an important member of the squad. There needs to be time for reflection. And we focus on the game tomorrow. And of course, people will want more, but I think that's excellence by Eric Ten Hag, because he's left no room for error. He's left no room for misinterpretation, misquotes. He's basically said, unacceptable behaviour on Thursday, punishment, we'll miss him tomorrow. The future, he's got to reflect, we've got to reflect. He's an important member of the squad. You know, you can dig into that whatever you want. For me, I think Ronaldo has to go. I agree with that. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's back playing for Manchester United on Thursday night. You just don't know. And we'll have to wait and see what happens with the future of that. But, you know, I think that additions to what Ten Hag said, he was asked a very direct question. Did Cristiano Ronaldo refuse to come on Thursday night? He said yes. He didn't expand on that. You know, it was a very blunt yes. Which is what we discussed last night. Malassi has been called up to the World Cup squad. Brilliant, fantastic chance. That's great news. He was also asked a very good question about, you know, you said a couple of weeks ago that Ronaldo's different to everyone else in the squad because you wouldn't bring him on against Man City because it was disrespectful. How do you manage somebody who's different to other players? And I think by different, you're talking about one of the greatest players that's ever played the game. He's got a better... You know, you can combine everybody's CV, and I think if, you know, Casemiro and Varane's CV probably adds up to Ronaldo's, but the rest of the squad doesn't even get half. How do you manage someone like that? And again, Eric Ten Hag just said, look, it's about, I'm the manager. I set the standards. There has to be consequences, and I have to live by that. So I don't think. I think they were trying to find a way as to whether Ten Hag would acknowledge that that Ronaldo gets treated differently. Well, we know he gets treated differently because you earn that. I don't subscribe to this world where everyone gets treated the same. I don't. Not in a footballing sense. I'm obviously in a fairness sense. In other areas, yes, you want fairness, but we're talking about football here. It's the same old nonsense that irritates me is when you go to your child's sports day, which I have in the past, and at certain schools they've been at, you win the race, but last place gets a prize as well because everybody's won. No, they haven't. That's not preparing people for real life. The winner is won because they're the best. Or if they've cheated, do a drugs test, which you're not going to get at schools. But you know what I mean. The reality is life is competitive in certain areas. Football is competitive. Cristiano Ronaldo is on a different level to most of that squad. Of course, you treat him differently to a first-team player who is a squad player. Ten Hag would acknowledge that. But he's not going to acknowledge it in an interview like that, where he's not going to give a little angle for a journalist to go, you're treating Ronaldo differently to other players. He sets the standards and everybody has to adhere to those standards. Ronaldo's lucky to still be a United player. Fergie would have tore up his contract and sent him on his way. I love that comment, United 95. I love this comment because I've seen it a few times and it's total bollocks. I'm sorry, it is. Sir Alex Ferguson's the greatest sports manager we've ever had, but if I've seen it once, I've seen it 100 times in the last 24 hours. Sir Alex would boot him out of the club for that. Well, it's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. People want to create myths. Jaap Stam was kicked out of the club. Van Nistelrooy was kicked out of the club. Beckham was kicked out of the club. Roy Keane wasn't kicked out of the club until the very end when he wasn't worth it anymore. Roy Keane publicly said in 2000, I'm leaving Man United, still got picked, still got begged to sign a new contract. Cristiano Ronaldo, the year before he's left, basically described us as, I forget the word, so I don't want to be misquoted, but basically said he wanted to go and he was almost being kept prisoner. Sir Alex begged him to stay. Sir Alex was ruthless, but with his key players, he would bend over backwards. Cantona was kept after kicking a fan in the crowd. So you might want to do your history on Sir Alex Ferguson before people start quoting bullshit about Sir Alex Ferguson would kick everybody out of the club if they betrayed the club. He didn't. The players that were really important to him, he knew their importance and he would put an arm around their shoulder and help them. He was ruthless with some players, the majority, but there's 3 or 4 examples in Sir Alex Ferguson's reign where very, very important players to him could have been kicked out of the club because they did disrespect the club and he kept them. And I haven't got a problem with that, and I don't think any United fan from that era had a problem with that. You can't be draconian when you're running a football club. You have, and that's what that question was about with Ten Hag. Certain players have to be treated differently. If you, well, some of you won't be old enough, but if you went back to the days when Roy Keane was the best captain in Europe and was basically Sir Alex Ferguson on the pitch, if Roy Keane had been subbed and said fuck off to Sir Alex, which he didn't, I don't think, and Sir Alex had said you're on the transfer list, he wouldn't have done that. He'd have took him in the room and said you never do that to me again, but he wouldn't sell him for that. If a reserve player walked off and said fuck off, he'd kick him out the door. And that's what I'm saying. There has to be a difference. And there was with Sir Alex. Certain players did get away with things that other players wouldn't. But he was ruthless. Did you ever think Ronaldo could be the sacrificial lamb that we needed? The only one mentioned at the one you mentioned at the start of the season. That's a great point, Rim. Fergie kept Rooney too, says Majak. Yeah, I suppose you're right on that. No, you know what? You make a great point. I said at the start of the summer there needs to be a sacrificial lamb. I didn't know it would be Ronaldo. I didn't really want it to be Ronaldo, but I can't go back on the fact that we do need one. And he may well be it. I still stand by that. I think that squad needs a sacrificial lamb to make them all go shit. Yeah, and I think that if it is Ronaldo, it probably won't be a bad thing. I didn't want it to be Ronaldo. I don't think anybody really wanted it to be Ronaldo, but there needed to be something like this. There needed to be a player of high profile exposed by the manager, and the manager comes out on top. That squad's needed that for probably 8 years. It needed to happen when Mourinho was in charge. But yeah, look, we need to move on from it. I think Ten Hag's come out of that interview very, very, very well. And yeah, he's done it really well. He was asked whether it's frustrating how the focus is on Ronaldo afterwards. And again, I thought it was a good answer from Ten Hag, because he's basically being asked, is it frustrating that all you're being asked about is Cristiano Ronaldo. And he said, well, look, no, not really. I expect and I understand questions about this. And I think that's just an acknowledgement of the Dead Pixel says Mark is clueless as usual. I know my history about Man United, mate. You clearly don't. If you think Sir Alex Ferguson booted everybody out the door because it masturbates, it massages your ego that you think you know about something you don't know about, you jog on. But I'm not going to sit here, and I don't think any United fan who lived it is going to sit here and say that Sir Alex Ferguson booted everybody out of the club who disrespected the club, because he didn't. Probably did it in 90% of the time, but he didn't do it all the time. Learn your history. If you don't want to learn your history, make yourself look a fool. But it's absolute nonsense from people who weren't even alive when this happened, who are tapping away on social media going, Sir Alex would have booted him out of the club. I don't necessarily think that's 100% true, because there's evidence that it didn't happen with certain other players. So learn your history before you start spouting nonsense that Sir Alex Ferguson would have booted everybody out of the club. And don't forget, Sir Alex Ferguson and Cristiano Ronaldo still are, and always have been, basically a footballing father-son relationship. I don't think Sir Alex Ferguson would boot Ronaldo out of the club at all, and I don't think Cristiano Ronaldo would say no to Sir Alex Ferguson either. I don't like that sort of analysis, because it's lazy and it's irrelevant. You are basically trying to use Ten Hag and Ronaldo with Sir Alex Ferguson and Ronaldo. They are very different relationships. That's like me speaking to somebody I don't like with somebody I do like. I'm not going to disrespect the person I really like, but I may well do it with somebody I'm not getting on with. Sir Alex Ferguson and Ronaldo's relationship wouldn't be like Ten Hag's and Ronaldo's relationship. What did Sir Alex Ferguson say a year ago to Khabib, and he got filmed? Ollie benched Ronaldo against Everton, didn't he? And Sir Alex Ferguson got filmed talking to Khabib, and he said, you don't bench your best player. Sir Alex Ferguson would never bench Ronaldo, I don't think. But why are we even talking about it? It's not in the now. We're dealing with the now. We've got a manager that we need to get behind. Glazer's created this mess, says Caleb. Has Ronaldo destroyed his legacy at United? No. Not for me, Major. No. Definitely not. But he might have done for some people. It's an individual opinion. Anyway, we were talking about it there. So Ten Hag, a really, really good answer. He was asked about, are you frustrated about all the talk about Ronaldo? And he said, no, I understand there's going to be questions about it. Because of course there's going to be questions about it. A player's just stormed off. One of the greatest players in the world has just stormed off and walked out of the ground. Of course there's going to be questions about that. There'll be questions about that at Chelsea. There'll be questions about that at Aston Villa. It's a big story. Of course I'm going to get questions about it. But he said Chelsea's a big game on Saturday, and my focus and my staff's focus and my players' focus is on the Chelsea game tomorrow, because that's the most important thing. He was then asked about, talking about Chelsea, he was asked about Graham Potter. He's faced him before. Is Graham Potter a tough adversary because he's played him already this season? And he said, no, it's a different game. He's managing a different team, and we're further along with the process. If anything, it's an advantage to me, because I know more about Graham Potter now than I did, and it's a disadvantage to him because he doesn't have that advantage anymore. But I think the game tomorrow is massively intriguing. Check out the preview on that. He was also asked about the away form. Can we play away from home like we did against Spurs? Remember, we spoke about that in the preview. I think the team news is going to be really interesting tomorrow. Do you stick with the same 11 and try and play the same way? Or do you accept that away from home, you're not going to be able to press high up the pitch away from home, and therefore you bring Eriksen in for Fred and try and go for a little bit of control deeper? Ten Hag's answer was interesting. Maybe we do stick with the same 11, because he said, of course you can play like that away from home. There's no issue between home and away games. The pitch is the same amount, 11 versus 11. It's the same referee. And, at the end of the day, yeah, of course we can do it. We have to win the game. So good answer from Eric there. And then he was asked about the atmosphere and his thoughts on the atmosphere at Old Trafford and whether it could be any better or how is he liking. He says, look, the atmosphere is fabulous at Old Trafford. It's a great experience. But he said, I enjoy playing away from home as well. He said the opponents don't like that sort of atmosphere at Old Trafford, and we need to keep that going. The Old Trafford atmosphere on Wednesday night was fantastic. But he says also like playing away from home, and you know, I'm looking forward to Stamford Bridge, and he said that the atmospheres in the Premier League are fantastic as well. So look, a little bit about Chelsea there, and as you can see on the screen, Ten Hag has confirmed that Anthony Martial will not be part of the game for Chelsea tomorrow, not even on the bench, unless we get a real shock, which I don't think we will. I think the fact that he's confirmed that he won't be there is quite significant. So tomorrow we really will be playing Rashford as a striker, and the alternatives beyond that will be quite limited, to be honest with you. The difference is Sir Alex Ferguson would never bench a player as Ronaldo, and I think he would be totally right. Sir Alex Ferguson respects Ronaldo and Erik Ten Hag doesn't. I hate how Ronaldo is treated as MUFC. Ronaldo cannot create his own chances. Okay, I don't really want to talk about Ronaldo that much. We've got a Q&A tonight. We can definitely delve into it. We're talking about a press conference. We're talking about Ten Hag. I'd rather keep it focused on the things that Ten Hag said, and you know, a bit about the Chelsea game. If you've got any questions about that, Q&A is 8 o'clock tonight. Throw whatever question you want in there. Aswin says stop defending Ronaldo. Well, I mean, I've not defended Ronaldo, so you can't be aiming that at me. But you've also got to respect that people have different opinions to you, Aswin, and telling people to stop doing something you don't like isn't going to work unless it's an illegal offence, in which case make them stop. Some players need an arm around their shoulder, says Majek. We need a striker as soon as possible, says Connor. And I want that conversation to start coming through, really. There is a frustration in me, and it's not to do with Ronaldo, and it's not to do with Ten Hag or anything. My frustration at the moment, Paul Scholes didn't get kicked out of the club after not showing up for a game, says James. Another example, Paul Scholes refused to play in a game as well. So yeah, Paul Scholes didn't get kicked out. People need to learn their history. It's very easy to just whack a load of shit on Twitter. I do it all the time. But what I do try and do is make it as accurate as I can. And when people start saying, if Sir Alex Ferguson was in charge, Ronaldo would be booted out of the club, it's complete shite. It's complete shit on so many levels. Because so many players that Sir Alex Ferguson backed did bad things. And he backed them because he knew they were important. And also, Sir Alex Ferguson absolutely adores Ronaldo like a son. So I don't think that would happen. I think the right way of putting it is, and I would agree with this, is Ronaldo should be booted out of the club for what he's done. If you hold that opinion, I respect it. But don't start talking about what Sir Alex Ferguson would have done, because he wouldn't have done it. Let's be honest. If you would do it, why not have the courage in your own conviction to say, if I was in charge, I'd boot him out of the club. What's wrong with that? That's your opinion. To which somebody timely says, what would you do? What would I do? What would you do? Well, what I would do with this situation is I would do what I've said consistently. I would say, and I wouldn't do this as Ten Hag, I'd do this as the CEO, but you could do it as Ten Hag, as the manager. I would sit down high level with Ronaldo's agent, Ronaldo, manager, CEO, with the authority of the Glazers, and I would say, right, this is just ridiculous. Everybody needs to come out of this looking good, because we don't need the negativity. The World Cup's coming up. I don't really want to use you, Cristiano, because I don't trust you. If I'm the manager, I don't trust you, and you don't really trust me. That professional relationship is broken. Let's respect that. January's going to be here very, very quickly. It's only 3 weeks till the World Cup, and then after the World Cup, it's only 1 week to January. So there's such a short period of time on the pitch. World Cup's going to take up a lot of your time. I might use you in the next few weeks as a bench player if you want to do that. If you don't want to do that, I won't use you, and we will just get through to January where you will leave, and I will get a replacement, and that's what we'll do. And as comfortable as you make that position, we will make it as comfortable as well. But that is what I would do. Would I pick Ronaldo? I don't know enough what's gone on behind the scenes to know whether that would be a good idea. If he's not happy being on the bench and he's going to be negative, I'm not going to pick him. If he's saying to me, I'll sit on the bench for you, I'll give everything until January and I will be professional, I might consider it. But ultimately, it's about getting to January in a professional way, letting him leave and us getting a replacement. And that isn't Ten Hag's problem, and it isn't Ronaldo's problem. The solution, as I said yesterday morning, is now sits with Richard Arnold and the Glazers. They need to manage this situation. What they cannot do, and what I'm scared of, is they cannot do what they did in August. You're not leaving, we're not getting you a replacement, Ten Hag, Ronaldo, you're not leaving, you're not getting a replacement, get on with it. And then they get on with it and it implodes like it has. If the club's action again is, you're not leaving in January, you're not getting a replacement, get on with it, this will happen again. And again, I'm not hearing enough people talk about this because, yeah, the blame is 100% with Ronaldo for what he did. We know that. And it's not Ten Hag's fault. We know that. But if it happens again, it's 100% on the club. And I blame the club anyway, but it's 100% on the club if this happens again. Because if they say to Ten Hag and Ronaldo, you're not leaving, you're not getting a replacement, get on with it till May, and this happens again, you know what I mean? Of course it's the club's fault. The club have to solve this now. Ten Hag wants him to go. Ronaldo wants to go. Get Ten Hag a replacement. Let Ronaldo go. If the club don't do that in January and there's any more problems, don't come on here and don't go on social media slagging off Ronaldo or Ten Hag. It's on the club now. They've got to solve this. 100%. They've got to solve this. They're the ones who can solve it. Solve it. That's what I'd do. Erik Ten Hag wouldn't survive as manager if it being undermined. The fact it's Ronaldo is irrelevant as Orient games. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think that's a great point as well. I think people are locked in on the fact that it's Ronaldo because it is Ronaldo. But if it was, I don't know anybody else in our squad who could do that. I mean, maybe Bruno. He's a bit petulant. I still don't think he would. I don't think Rashford would do it. You know, I don't think anybody would have the power to do what Ronaldo did. And it was wrong. But you've also, I said this yesterday, you've also got to be the. You're talking Messi, Mbappe, Neymar. You've got to be one of the best players in the world to even consider getting up and walking off. But it doesn't matter who it is, because if you do that, there has to be consequences. Ten Hag is right. We all need to move on from this as fans, manager and player. The end is near and Ronaldo will leave me with only good memories, says Big. If we were Ron, if we were Ron, we would be pissed off, but Ron was wrong. He had his punishment, move on, time to get him scoring goals. Look at it in January, says Sean. Never liked United in the past, but looking at the recent development of the players and their game under Ten Hag, I'm all in for seeing this club back to its glory days and coming years, says Harsh. And you know what? As much as I think it's completely unlikely, and as much as many of you probably don't think it will happen as well, we should always throw in the alternative. And I will throw this an alternative. Ronaldo said we'll be together again, United we stand, on his apology. Ten Hag has said that we miss him and he's still part of the team. What price Ronaldo is back starting for Manchester United in the next couple of weeks, scoring goals with a good relationship with Erik Ten Hag? I mean, I don't think it will happen. But if it did happen, would you be surprised? Nothing surprises me at Manchester United. In reality, I think if Martial gets fit, Martial and Rashford are ahead of Ronaldo, so he won't get any game time anyway. But, can Martial get fit? Is Rashford a striker? There might still be an opportunity for Ronaldo to get back into that team. So you've got to have an open mind. But I really do think that we've got to start thinking about this game tomorrow now, because it's such a big game for United. Jamie says there's not a chance that that's going to happen. And I think you're probably right, Jamie. I think you're probably right. But, some people are saying it wasn't even an apology. So, yeah. It's interesting. We are Manchester United, but we haven't won a trophy in the last 5 years. We ain't Sir Alex United. We're in rebuild, so pipe down toxic fans. And if Boris can make a comeback, so can Ronaldo. Is Boris really coming back? I don't pay any notice to politics anymore, Majak. Anyway, I think the 8 o'clock show is going to be fantastic tonight, because our 8 o'clock show is always a Q&A anyway. So there'll be a topic that we lead on, but basically it's a free-for-all of questions and topics. So we'll see where it goes. But I always like the Friday night show. It's a bit chilled out. So I'm looking forward to that. That's Erik Ten Hag's press conference. I would give him a really strong 9 out of 10 today. I thought it was a difficult press conference to do. He left no wiggle room for people to misquote him. He answered it in the right way. It was professional. It was strong leadership. And that's what you want from your manager. And he's got to be allowed to manage. Disappointed we've got no Martial tomorrow in relation to the Chelsea game. But I'm still confident we can go there and not concede, and therefore I think we can get a result. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash a like on the video. Stay safe, and I'll see you at 8 o'clock. I'm also on Twitch at 3 with my FIFA career mode if you want to join in for that. Looking forward to that. And I will speak to you all in a bit. Take care, everyone. Thanks for watching.